Hello everyone and welcome to a new video of Mr. Mark Explains History, and today I explain the Middle Ages. So in this mini-series we are talking about time periods, and today we'll talk about Middle Ages. If you haven't checked out the previous videos, please do. It will really help you to understand what we are talking about today. So Middle Ages, what are the characteristics? Why did it start and why did it end? So when did ancient history end? I explained it in my previous video too. So it's around 500 AD with the fall of the Western Roman Empire. So there's many causes. There's a big debate, why did the Western Roman Empire fall? The Eastern Roman Empire keeps going here in the east, which becomes later the Byzantine Empire, with the capital in Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. But the Western one is disappearing. The direct cause is these barbarian hordes, tribes, invading, let's say, the Western Roman Empire and settling down there and taking over. This led to a period of chaos with no large stable states anymore. There was a decline in knowledge, in science. No one was really writing things down anymore. And that's why it's called the Dark Ages, often by historians. Dark Ages, I would say, only applies to maybe the first 2 centuries after the fall of the Roman Empire. Some people call the whole Middle Ages Dark Ages, but that's false, I would say, and I'll explain that in the next slide. So actually, why are the Middle Ages called the Middle Ages, and is that fair? Well, it's not really fair. It's really a name that came about in the Renaissance. So in the Renaissance, people looked back at, let's say, in the past, and they thought at the time of ancient Greece and ancient Rome, that was like an amazing time. They produced great art, amazing level of science, of culture, etc. And they wanted to recreate that and create art in similar styles and learn a lot. So they call it the Renaissance, the rebirth. So they love this time. They wanted to have a similar time, have like a rebirth of all of the classics of that time. And they found all this time in the middle. So of course, we said this ended around 500 AD. So all this time in the middle here, from 500 to 1500, they said, yeah, all this time is just in the middle, nothing really happened. It was like a dark time, dark ages, which is not correct, but yeah, they call this the Middle Ages. So it's, they felt like, oh, it's just a bad time, we call it Middle Ages. In fact, I'll do that with another color. As I said, you could say there was a short time when it was really down, really dark, but then you already see that life and society and culture is picking up again, people start to write again, etc. So I'll tell you in a second. And that's why the Middle Ages are also split often into 2. So you have kind of the early or the high Middle Ages, or the low Middle Ages, and the late Middle Ages, sometimes called the high Middle Ages. Let's say there's 2 phases in the Middle Ages. That makes it easy to explain it. Again, it's way more nuanced. I could make many videos with way more details, but I want to tell the basics. So this is short background about the Middle Ages, and these 2 phases I'll keep coming back to. So early Middle Ages and late Middle Ages. So if we talk about politics, about people in power who make decisions, about governments, about countries, what is like the main development, what is really changing in the Middle Ages? So from phase 1 to phase 2. We know we had this massive Roman Empire with one massive state with a very strong leader. But in the early Middle Ages, that is gone. You have weak kings, they don't really have a lot of power. You have a lot of nobles who are strong, so who rule over their local areas. The king visits them sometimes, but it's like the nobles themselves protect and take care of that area. The king itself doesn't do that much Okay, this is like very simple explanation, but I like to keep it simple so you understand. So you have a weak king, and the local nobles, let's say the dukes and the counts, they are powerful. This is also the time when you have the knights and stories about knights who also help these nobles to protect their little domains. What do we then see in the late Middle Ages was the transition is that the king becomes stronger and stronger and stronger again, while nobles are getting weaker. And the power of the king getting stronger, and also that more power is based in, let's say, the palace and the capital, we call that centralization. So from this local power we saw here, the local power, we go to more central power. So it means from one place everything is ruled. So in England from London or from Paris in France. We also see the start of Parliament, or in France the States General. There's the introduction of laws, of taxes, central taxes, of institutions. So the king and the governments are getting stronger again, states are getting stronger again. So it's really recovering from the situation we had with the Romans, then kind of this darker ages, and now we're recovering again. What about economic, social aspects? So about people and jobs and money. Also a development from early Middle Ages to late Middle Ages. So in these, let's say, dark ages, there was way less trade, less kind of production. Also cities are, almost all cities are gone, and you have very more like local economies. So it's really based on the village or within the country, and this whole massive trade networks of that the Romans had, that's gone. But again, we see this recovery in the late Middle Ages. So cities are growing again, cities are becoming more powerful, international trade is also starting up again. The Silk Road is back, so famously Marco Polo traveled that. And within those cities, they become really important for the economy. So you have merchants and artisans. You also have guilds, so all the bakers are in one group, in one guild, and they control that's, let's say, the production of one item, one product. For example, bread. That's in many cities why you have Baker Street, for example. So the economy is recovering too, but still most people are peasants, are farmers. Many are also unfree, that's called serfs. And there's a lot of inequality. So still big gap between the rich and the poor. And as I said before, this will keep seeing throughout most of history, this situation. Then about culture, so about religion and art and lifestyle. So how do people live? In the early Middle Ages, not everyone in Europe is Christian yet, and slowly but steadily everyone gets converted to Christianity in Europe. In the early Middle Ages, only monks can read and write, and really a lot of, let's say, that's also an aspect of why it's like dark ages, because almost no one is writing anymore. Also, way less science going on. Architecture is more like Romanesque, and it's a lot about religious art. Late Middle Ages, everyone is Christian, and religion is very, very important. Again, all art in the Middle Ages is almost based on religion, and that's a change we see in the Renaissance when they also start painting other stuff, other things. But in the late Middle Ages, we see a revival again of science. The first universities are established, the first one in Bologna in Italy. There's again way more writing going on, way more reading going on. And there's really a revival of culture and science and art. So to call the whole Middle Ages nothing happens and then suddenly Renaissance, that's just wrong. Already in the late Middle Ages, from around, let's say, 1000, we see really a revival of most cultural things too, like economic and political. So then, when did the Middle Ages end and why did it end? We usually say around 1500, some people say 1450. It doesn't really matter that much. What's more important is why. Why do historians make it end? So around 1400, 1500, 1450, you have a lot of events that really change society and change history, let's say. So we have the Renaissance with Leonardo da Vinci. It's really about a revival of science, of new ways of thinking and looking at the world. The printing press is a massive thing, so knowledge can now be spread very fast. It's also much cheaper to make books. So there's also a revolution in communication. So the Renaissance ideas can spread very fast. The Eastern Roman Empire is now falling. So we started with the fall of the Western Roman Empire, and the Middle Ages end with the fall of the Eastern Roman Empire. And a lot of scholars and people from that area come to Western Europe. And this is also a big boost for the Renaissance. Columbus discovers America. Of course, there were already people living there. But this new world that is discovered by Europeans will also totally change many aspects. And finally, Martin Luther in 1517 starts the Reformation. So maybe I should have written Reformation there, but that's also a totally different way of looking at religion and a clash of ideas. So the Middle Ages end because we see a very different mentality, loads of different ideas, ways of looking at life, and a whole change in society taking place. So next time we'll talk about the early modern age. Again, the characteristics, why did historians make it a period, very important. Why did it start and end, etc. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned a lot from it. Leave a comment if you have a question or some feedback, and see you next time. Thank you.